everyone. Welcome on board. Welcome back. It's another episode of Nerd Night. And you guys know what it is. It's about time we have a lot of fun for the week. All the hard work of study and learning. It's time to actually have a bit of fun with the community. So thank you so much for jumping in. I don't think we have anyone new in our midst. Everyone here are all familiar faces, including mine, hopefully. For anyone watching this later, thank you so much for jumping in. This is a continuation from the session we had last week, which was around cybersecurity incident tabletop exercises. We are going to be continuing that by actually having a practice of how to perform a tabletop exercise in incident response. And the whole aim is to start looking at different scenarios an organization needs to go through if they've been hit by an incident. Now, the whole reason for actually doing this is that you want to be prepared before an incident actually occur in your organization. So by playing this game, you actually start thinking about scenarios that, if that were to happen to you, you can then document and have a process or an incident response plan that accompanies such scenario. An example of such scenario could be ransomware attack, business email compromise, phishing email, being successful in your organization, and a myriad of other things that potentially could go wrong. So, as usual, I am Sammy Chalks, one of the trainers, the coordinators, and mentor here. I think one of the things I'll probably say about myself is that I'm a lifelong learner. So, if anyone is wondering, I'm always learning, looking for ways to learn new things. So, great to have everyone here. It's a lovely Saturday in Melbourne, Australia. Perfect weather as well and temperature. I think it didn't go over 25 degrees today, so it was absolutely amazing. A perfect day for a picnic. But hopefully everyone is doing all right. Unfortunately, Mr. Nathan, well, which is fortunate, is finally here in Melbourne. So I met him yesterday and we had dinner, and he's probably trying to catch up from the very long drive that he did from South Australia to Melbourne. So unfortunately, he won't be able to join us
Yoo-hoo!
today. But yeah, so we should be able to
Oh, he
see.
he drove.
He drove all the
Uh,
way. Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
Oh wow.
So we should be able to see Nathan at the next BlueCon. So yeah, looking forward to that. But if since we don't have
Sammy, I thought
Nathan,
you're gonna stream from the same room. You're gonna now have like a small CyberLynk studio or something like that, and just be on the in the camera, both of you now.
oh yeah, look, yeah. Well, I'm sure there will be days where that would happen, but obviously not today. So he needs to get some rest to recover from that unforgiving trip. But look, if we don't have Nathan, no one really cares because we have Sarah. Sarah is probably is probably the favorite mentor of all. So Sarah, you want to quickly give us a word or two, and then we can jump right into threat landscape.
Yeah, no worries. Hi everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm a
I believe so. We just had a bit of a drop from Sarah there. She'll be back.
Lost
Um, well, I think in Sarah's own word,
sorry guys.
that's all right.
Yeah, all right. I'm a I'm a solutions engineer during the week, and then at night I'm a epic hacker.
I was going to say exactly that. All right, perfect. Now, um, something some little birdie told me that Sarah won some award and her team won some
Oh,
competition last week. So I'm kind of keen to hear a little bit more about it. So Sarah, if you don't mind, share with us. And how much was the prize money? Like, what's the what's the
oh
prize?
yeah.
The prize money that you guys won, and do you need to take us off for a nice succulent dinner?
It
I know a
probably will only
place.
buy a dinner for one and a half people, Sammy. But yeah, I did a CTF on the weekend and I came first. Um, there was a couple of blue team and red team activities, cryptography,
Nice.
steganography. I've never done steganography before, so it was actually quite fun and
Yeah.
interesting. I've only done it a little bit, like just touching the base of things, but not real in depth. Like for forensic analysis, malware analysis, traffic analysis. Those are all the blue team stuff. Then we had the red team stuff, which was just SQL injections, cross-site scripting, command injections. It was a lot of web vulnerability stuff. So a bunch of web apps we were able to hack and attack, which was fun. And yeah, that's what I did. And I won a $100 Amazon gift card, Sammy. That was my
Nice.
reward.
Well, that is good.
Yeah, it was a nice award, and I got a really nice certificate as well from Holmes Glen, which was quite nice.
Good. Now, look, I saw your update on LinkedIn, and I couldn't be more proud. So you're making CyberLynk proud, and you're making yourself proud as well. So
Yeah.
well done, and yeah, like more. There's this saying that people say it's more grace to your elbow.
I can buy a steak. I can buy a
There
really
you
nice
go.
steak
Perfect.
now.
Look, I'm not gonna say no. I wouldn't turn a nice steak off or down. So that is awesome. So yeah, nah, thank you so much for actually having a go and partaking on that competition and really smashing it and showing them how it's done.
Yeah,
Cool.
round two is soon. Like in 2-ish months. I
Yeah.
don't know if anyone's near Chadstone, Holmes Glen. I'm not sure if you have to be a student there to sign up, but um, I'm an alumni, so I don't study there. I just have studied previously there, and there was a couple of other alumni there. Um, but yeah, it's good. It's good fun, and it puts you out there. I enjoyed it a lot. And then I'm
Yeah,
doing
that's good.
another big one in June, Sammy, as well. World Skills. That's a big one.
Well, yeah. Look, we have to
That
make sure we prepare you and
that
yeah,
is gonna be
epic. You reckon?
3 days, 8 hours
Jeez.
for hacking. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I reckon we'll probably play some CTFs. Obviously, it's getting to CTF seasons. I reckon we'll probably use one of the nerd
CTFs are
nights.
fun.
Yeah, I reckon we'll use one of the
Yeah.
nerd night sessions to play CTF. So why not? By the way, everyone,
To
you
be
know
honest,
that
yeah,
Alex, go.
I'll just say for me, I don't know, maybe it's just I'm overthinking, but for me, for example, going on my own into a CTF is like just it's terra incognito. So just basically, um, yeah, that's why I didn't actually participate in any because I think as a team it would be very fun,
Yeah,
but I'm just not really sure if
Most
yeah.
of
So
them
I
are
think
as
it's
a
a really good
team.
yeah. So Alex, yeah,
There's
yeah, it'll be a
there's
team.
walkthroughs on YouTube and stuff. I could walk you through an easy one, Alex, if you wanted to learn. Um, but yeah, they're quite fun. It doesn't. It's not. It's more of a fun exercise than a real world exercise. But you do learn about those real world vulnerabilities. There are CTFs catered more towards those real life situations. But yeah, they're everywhere online. They're everywhere. Um, I haven't made one yet. The one I was in, Andre, that I did on the weekend was from, what was it, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m.
They do go for long. Like I know a
Yeah,
bunch of
that's how long they go
yeah. So
for.
I
They're
know
pretty nuts.
I've played CTFs that went for 3 days. So,
Yeah,
but you don't
same here.
have to
I
be
did
there
one in
like the whole time. You
2023.
just yeah, you just wake up,
Yeah,
play, and then
you get a break, you stock
yeah,
up on coffee or Red Bulls or whatever caffeine you fancy. Um, and just yes, start hacking
good.
away.
That sounds like exciting. All right, let's jump right into it for today. Thanks so much, Sarah, for that.
Nice.
I'll get rid of this from the screen and put it here. So for threat landscape today, we'll just go through and look at one or two articles here. So the first one here is looking at Belgium probes if Chinese hackers breached its intelligence service. Now this is an interesting one because if you guys know what an intelligence service does, right? It'll be very funny the fact that Anyways, I'll open it up and we can have a look at it. It's an interesting one from Bleeding Computer, right? From by Sergio Gatland. So the Belgian Federal Prosecutor's Office is investigating whether Chinese hackers were behind a breach of the country's state security services, VSSE. Chinese state-backed attackers reportedly gained access to VSSE external email server between 2021 and May 2023. Jeez, that's almost 3 years. Yeah, siphoning around 10% of all emails sent and received by the agency's staff. Oh, jeez. What did I just click? Okay. Um, well, guys, this is how not to fall for a phishing link. Do not click around. The compromised server was only used for exchanging emails with public prosecutors, government ministries, law enforcement, and other public Belgian administration bodies. As Belgian news outlet LE Sur reported on Wednesday, according to the Business Times, the hacked server also routed internal HR exchanges between or among Belgian intelligence personnel, raising concerns about the potential exposure of sensitive personal data, including identity documents and CVs belonging to nearly half of the VCS's current staff and past applicants. Belgium's local media first reported an attack on the VCSC's um, platform in 2023, coinciding with Barracuda's vulnerability disclosure. Following this, the Belgian intelligence service stopped using Barracuda as a cybersecurity provider and advised affected staff to renew identification documents to mitigate the risk of identified fraud. However, there is currently no evidence of stolen data appearing on the dark web or ransom demands, and anonymous sources indicate that VSSE security team monitored dark web, hacking forums, and marketing places for leaked information. The timing of the attack was especially unfortunate as we were in the midst of a major recruitment drive following the previous government's decision to almost double our workforce. An anonymous intelligence source told Le Saw, whatever, we thought we had bought a bulletproof vest, only to find a gaping hole in it. The VSSE has remained silent on the issue, only noting that a formal complaint was submitted per Brussels Times report. At the same time, the Federal Prosecutor's Office confirmed that a judicial investigation started in November 2023, but stressed that it's too early to draw any conclusions. There isn't the fir- This isn't the first time Chinese state hackers targeted Belgium. In July 2022, the country's Ministry for Foreign Affairs said that APT 27, 30, and 31, and then the threat actor called Gallium, aka Soft Cell, and UNSC 2814, all Chinese state-backed threat groups attacked Belgian defense and interior ministries. The Chinese embassy in Belgium denied the accusation and pointed to a lack of evidence to sustain the Belgian government's claim. It is extremely unserious and irresponsible of the Belgian side to issue a statement about the so-called malicious cyber attack by Chinese hackers without any evidence, the Chinese embassy spokesman said. So again, without reading too far, the key thing here is that the VSSAE department within Belgium had a product called Barracuda. So it's an email provider that they used for for exchanging email essentially. And for so long they thought that this was obviously protected and that there was no issue until a significant critical vulnerability was detected, which quite obviously had been open in the environment for a while before the vendor of this particular tool detected it. So the threat actor had lived in the environment and potentially listened or eavesdropped on all email communication that was going through. Now the reason this is a bit concerning is that Belgian intelligence service or intelligence office is essentially the arm that does a lot of digging of individuals, of high profile individuals for politicians and cyber criminals or like cartels and a whole bunch of no good people in society or the everyday person who is probably trying to evade paying their taxes, right? So they dig dirt on people and they actually are very cyber capable. They have an arm of cybersecurity within their government. So for them to have been compromised like this, and the reason that this article kind of caught my eye and why it's funny is that they are saying in the article that we believe it might be China because of what we've seen China do in the past. But knowing the work that they do, they probably already know that it's China. But because they don't want to stir up troubles, any political trouble, they're basically saying like we think it might be China, and China obviously responds with the with the seriousness that they responded with. So that's definitely an interesting one, but it does provide, I guess, the question, or it begs the question: how secure is Australia at the moment? Right? How secure is ASIO, which is Australian intelligence arm? How secure is our federal police? Because guess what? Last year, federal police got hacked like 2 or 3 times. So it makes it a bit funny, but at the same time a bit concerning that that things like this could go wrong. So, and this is why we need people like you guys to actually get into cybersecurity and start working hard to protect Australia, the nation Australia from cyber criminals. But anyways, without spending too much time talking about this on my own, wanted to throw it out there and ask people what they thought about the situation, or did it catch your curiosity as it did mine, Alex? So Alex, I
Sorry?
thought you were saying something.
No, I'm just
Right.
joined from my computer screen. Yeah.
Right. Cool. Does anyone have anything to say here? Abdullah, go.
Yeah, I find it a bit funny that I don't mean anything bad, but the other day there was also this big story on North Korea hacking, I don't know, stealing 2 billions worth of Bitcoin or something.
Yep, I think I've got that somewhere here.
Is that from what is it called? The
No.
Bybit? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, the one. Yeah, Bytebit. Yep. I think that's the one he's talking about. Yeah, I did see that as well.
Yeah,
Abdullah, I'm guessing that's the one you're referring to.
yeah. What I wanted to say is, why do we never hear of the reverse? Like, it's always coming from this side to this side. Doesn't this
Well,
other side wanna attack back?
I'm sure they're probably doing something, but it's not.
Reported,
You've asked
yeah.
a good question. I'm gonna kind of let everyone else speak. I don't want to answer it. So, does anyone have anything to say to that?
Yeah, I have. And it's not my
It's
my
like,
opinion.
yeah, I
It's
have
it.
because I've worked with threat actors before and I know how it works.
There you go. Yeah, I have a personal vendetta and everything, of course.
That's good. All right,
Let's hear
tell
your
us.
personal opinion. You might find someone who agrees with you.
Well, the thing is, yeah, because what I heard from another practitioner, like he on his YouTube channel, like he said, and he's American, he says you need to understand that we consider them, all those other countries, as adversaries and cyber adversaries and everything, but he said like you need to understand for them we are adversaries. So, and because the media is sort of from one side, that's why, but they don't have the data from the other side as well to give sort of because like I said, every country follows their own interests, so that's why he said about the US specifically. That's why he said that the US would be doing something similar for like I don't know, for threat intelligence and just getting data on people and just getting cyber how did you that's that word, like some sort of advantage over other countries. But yeah, we just don't hear about it because it's not covered in the media. But certainly there's things happening, and yeah, because it's going to be basically doxing yourself if it's going to be saying, oh, the US, I don't know, NASA, sorry, NASA, NSA breached, I don't know, some country, whatever, in Africa to get something happening there. Yeah, it's going to sound a little bit weird because it's going to sound weird because it's NSA is going to come on the next day or something to the news outlet saying, "Hey, hello, you're not supposed to tell the world about this."
Yeah, I think that's a lot on what side of the media you are. Like we are in the West, so you're not going to
Yeah,
be hearing a lot of like what the US does wrong.
yeah,
Say,
Yeah.
for example, Brazil was spied by the US, as in routinely spied in 2015. That was like big news in Brazil, but not anywhere else.
Mm.
If you search, I think that's like 2015 US spy in Brazil, you're going to find some articles around that, but that's not something that's very well known, I would say.
yeah, yeah.
Like I
And
know because I was there.
yeah, and you know what's funny
And
is, you
and
know
I
what's
think it's
funny?
all in Spanish, in Portugal, right? So Portuguese sort of outlets.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was like a few articles in English as well, but they wouldn't go as in depth as the other ones, right?
Yeah.
Well,
say.
I was gonna say the funny thing is, did you guys see the USAID scandal?
Yeah.
Did you guys
Yeah,
see
Ooh,
that they were
that's a
basically
big one.
bankrolling a lot of media organizations, including international media organizations? So you wonder why we don't hear information about about a hack when it's literally the government that is funding the media organization. It's like, is this information or misinformation? And this is why when the media use the word misinformation, I'm like, who are you to say that something is misinformation? Like, I
That's
don't trust
true.
you
Yeah.
enough to say that something is misinformation. Like, seriously. Anyways, without going into conspiracy theory, yeah, it is
yeah,
absolutely spot on. But one thing maybe perhaps we're not considering is that because the hierarchy of power between the West and other third world country is a little bit like it's a little bit of a unique dynamic where the West is where a large concentration of wealth resides. So therefore, most times when people are attacking the West, they're doing it for financial gain, or they're trying to steal
Yeah.
proprietary
Yeah.
information that they can use to go build their own economy, right? And then be able to compete on a global stage. Usually, when the West is hacking other people, they're trying to prevent them from being able to do something.
being hacked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
i.e., Stuxnet, right? They were trying to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon, right? And they've done that to multiple other countries as well, and including North Korea. So, and right now, do you guys know that the U.S. Have actually put a chip or GPU embargo on China
Yeah. Yeah. The
to avoid
microchip.
China building
Yeah.
building an AI model that is better
yeah.
than the US. So that's usually what the US or the more Western economy would do. They're not necessarily trying to hack other countries to get money out of them because there's not really that much money they can get out of them. They just want to make sure that they remain. It's like a typical wealthy person.
Counterintelligence.
Yeah, it's a typical wealthy person trying to remain wealthy and make sure that everyone around him remains poor. And that's usually how I see it, anyways. I could be wrong, but yeah.
I think that even like the alphabets help for us not to find those news about, I don't know, Russia or China being hacked, because that will be written the alphabet, not into the Latin one.
Yeah,
So even local news is like harder for us to find than, like Sammy said, the US is the big player, so everyone speaks English nowadays, right? Um, Not a lot of people speak Cantonese or Russian. So
yeah. No, that's good. Look, yeah, some really good participation, guys. We don't have a lot of time, so let's jump into it. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. And thanks, Alex, for bringing Alex and Abdallah for bringing up you know, your own side of the story, and Abdallah, thanks for raising the point about the Bitbyte, well, cryptocurrency theft. I don't know where they're gonna spend that money though, but we'll see. We'll see. This remains to be
Um,
the one problem that cryptocurrency has is that if someone steals your
well,
crypto,
yeah.
you can track it.
The thing is with North Korea is that at least considering the official narrative is that the cryptocurrency they use is for funneling their economy basically. So because they've sanctioned up to their like up to like all basically up to everything. That's why the only cryptocurrency is one of the ways how to move their economy further, how to get money in the country, basically speaking.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for partaking. And we will attempt to play, backdoors and breaches. So obviously, following our conversation last week, we talked about what incident response tabletop exercises are. We defined it. We talked about how it works. We talked about the key benefits it has to organizations. Some of it I've already kind of reiterated today. So for today, we'll be focusing on the last point there, which is backdoors and breaches, Black Hill infosec security or info security. Game on. Essentially, it's like let's play some game, let's have fun. All right, that's what I mean there. All right, let's jump right in. But before we actually go to the website of the game, which I will check in here now, and before we start playing, I wanted to make sure that everyone understands how the game works and how to approach it. So Black Hill have released a really nice short video, 25 minutes, but we're going to watch it in less time than that, and we're not going to watch everything. It's just to give everyone an understanding of what this game is, so we can start playing it. I'm going to play the video in 2 speed. If anyone is struggling to pay attention, listen to it, let me know. I'll stop sharing and quickly share again with sound. Alrighty. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay, let's start. And this we'll probably watch it up until 15 or 20 minutes where it actually shows us how to play the game so that everyone knows. I figured it's probably a lot quicker to watch that than me trying to explain it to you guys. So, by the way, Steven, welcome to the show, mate. And huge congratulations on your certification.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you.
All good. Let's jump right in.
All right, so hello everybody. My name is Jason Blanchard. I'm a content community person. I go by the Excitement co-creator now at Black Hills because I like to co-create excitement with other people. But way back in 2019, I co-created Backdoors and Breaches with John Strand and the testers here at Black Hills, and we created this game so that you can play it. That's the thing about Dungeons and Dragons. Like, it's better when you play it. Like, I'm going to show you how to play it, but it's way better when you play it, because when you play it, you get to make it your own. You get to go on your own quest. You get to tell your own stories. You get to figure out your own incident response. You get to figure out your own flaws and your own security. And so I'm going to go through some of the basics of Backdoors and Breaches today, so that way you can use it internally. So that way you can figure out your incident response plan ahead of time.
Just a quick check. Is that going too fast, guys?
No, it's all right for me because I
Too
watched some
fast.
videos on that speed, so for me it's all right.
All right, I'll do 1.5.
Make it 1.5.
All right.
Now, since today is the most offensive that ever offensed conference, I want to show you one thing. So there is this thing up here. If you look, it's the attack. All right. So I'm showing on my screen right now. We have the attack chain, and I don't want to say the cyber kill chain because that means I have to. Thank you, Lockheed Martin. Okay, so we have the kill chain up here, and if I hit refresh, I get a brand new kill chain up here. And so the initial compromise was a phish, which led to an internal password spray, which the attackers exfiltrated data through HTTP, and they used DLL attacks as a form of persistence. And so in every deck of Backdoors and Breaches, if you have a physical deck or if you're playing here online, and if you hit refresh, you get a brand new attack scenario. So now it was a password spray. If you don't know what that is, credential stuffing, DNS is C2, and then they use logon scripts as a form of persistence. So for those of you that are concerned about attacks, offensive security, and other things, if you want to, let's say every Tuesday afternoon, send something to your senior leadership of here's a possibility of ways that we could be hacked, you could just say it could be a password spray, and you give a brief explanation of what the password spray is. Where the attackers use credential stuffing, you give a brief explanation of what that is, and then they use DNS as a form of command and control, and then you can explain what command and control is and a little bit about DNS. And then you can say what logon scripts are. And you can say, hey, this is a possible attack that we could face as an organization. Just want to let you know. And then next week, you can do the same thing on Tuesday or whatever. And this time it was social engineering that led to local privilege escalation, where the attackers use HTTPS as exfiltration, and these applications should make the form of persistence. So what this is also like, hey, pen testers out there or offensive security people, if you want to how am I going to start my next engagement? Let's see, what am I going to do first? Oh, we can start with a password spray. Oh, and then if we can broadcast multicast protocol poisoning to work, that'd be sweet. Oh, let's see if we can get HTTP as my exfiltration channel. Oh, and accessibility features. I haven't done access. Oh, will I need physical access? If I need physical access, how do I get physical access? So maybe this becomes your can I do the mission impossible? All right. For those of you that don't know what all the attacks are, and today is I don't know what all these cards are that you're talking about. So if you're trying to explain to senior leadership or other people on your team, or this is great for onboarding new people, because if you're onboarding new people, a lot of them are I've never heard of phish. Well, a phish is different. Okay. External cloud access. Now here's an opportunity to talk about all your external cloud access features. In fact, we have an entire cloud security expansion deck of Backdoors and Breaches coming out later this year from Bo Bullock and some of the other people on our team. All right. So the attackers get in through an external cloud access. Now, what happens is you can start talking about what cloud access accounts you have and what abilities you have and what features and services you have. And so you can start explaining that to new people. And then you get over here to local privilege escalation. You're well, how does external cloud access, how could they potentially get into local privilege escalation? And so you can explain this to the people on your team. And then you're well, DNS is C2, and you can talk about potentially all the times in the past that DNS has been used in a form of compromise for your organization. And then you have malicious browser plugins where you can explain, do we allow developer mode to be accessible in our browsers? And all of a sudden someone goes, do we allow developer mode? I don't know. Do we? I think we do. Oh, I don't know if we disable that or not. And so all of a sudden the conversation turns to, do we allow malicious browser plugins to be installed? So here's the thing about Backdoors and Breaches. This is a conversation starter about security in a non-threatening environment that is disguised as a game. That's the way I've been trying to explain it to senior leaders later, where they're well, I don't know if I want to play this game. I was would you like to have a cybersecurity conversation that's in a non-threatening environment where everyone can just talk about the truth and the facts instead of, people's personal opinions and the political nature of your organization? I was yes, I would like that. All right, cool. Okay, so the top cards are the attack cards. So you have the initial compromise, pivot and escalate, C2 and exfil, and persistence. Now down here, I get to see those. So if I wanted to, if I was running this game as the incident captain, I would look down here at the solution. I would see what the solution is, and I would know that it's credential stuffing with local privilege escalation, domain fronting and C2 and malicious service. Now, if I didn't know what these things are, I could read the explanations a little bit and understand. If you really want to get good at coming up with scenarios to use in backdoors and breaches, I highly recommend listening to Darknet Diaries. And so if you haven't listened to Darknet Diaries, please listen to what Jack has put together, because those things are fantastic. And the more you listen to Darknet Diaries, the more you can come up with scenarios for backdoors and breaches, because you're like, oh, this one's from Jeremy in marketing, or this one's in this, or this one's in this one. So highly recommend Darknet Diaries if you have not ever listened to it. Okay, so what happens is you have these 4 cards, and these 4 cards are hidden like Clue. So think of this game as Clue meets Dungeons and Dragons meets Incident Response. So Clue, because something's hidden, got to figure it out. Dungeons and Dragons, because it's fun and you got to roll dice, and we'll talk about that in a second. But then you have Incident Response. And so a lot of times when I play this game with actual companies that want a paid tabletop where we show up and we get real deep into their incident response plan, is that we use this game to start building out their incident response capabilities, because sometimes you don't know how to respond to something until you have a reason to respond to something. And if you have a playbook, I'm not saying burn it. I am saying like it's probably not going to be useful. It's not. So we're more fans of incident response Legos. Like I can put these Legos in any configuration and build something new, and I can build these Legos and make something new, and I can take the same ones apart and build something new, and I can take the same ones apart and build something new. Instead of a playbook that says, if we do this, then we do this, then we do this, then we do this, because that never works, because attackers never attack you the same way twice. And if they do, they're probably different attackers who are just using the same methodology. Okay, so what we got up here, once you have the attack cards, and so if you're the incident captain, you're leading the session, you know it's credential stuff and local privilege escalation, like, and so you come up with a scenario. My scenario in this would be, here, I'll give you a brief scenario. I would say to you all, the people who are being the incident responders, the defenders who are getting ready to get the scenario, I would say something like, over the last 3.5 weeks, you've noticed that you have a higher percentage of failed logon attempts from past and current employees. So past and current employees. So employees that no longer have access to your account, and employees that do. So that's all you got to go on. What would you want to do first? And so I give a brief scenario. The goal is to give like the least amount of information that you have, but something where like, what would the SOC analyst say? Or what would someone like, this is weird. And you're like, oh, that's weird. So you want to give it the least amount of knowledge you can to get people start asking questions, because questions are great. Because when people are like, well, what about this? And you're like, that's fantastic. There are 2 types of questions inside backdoors and breaches. When someone asks the incident captain, one is a clarifying question, and then the other makes them have to go do something. And so if it's a clarifying question, like, well, how many failed login attempts above average? And you're like, oh, it's an average of 30% more than your baseline throughout the year. And you're like, okay, so it's 30% more failed login attempts of past and current employees. Like normally we don't have past employees that are trying to log in. And so they don't know what these cards are. Only the incident captain knows what these cards are. And so what happens is the team goes, well, let's go ahead and use some of our procedures. If you see procedures here, and we got established procedures, and we got other procedures. Okay, so what we got right here is these are all the different incident response Legos you could potentially have at your organization, like user and entity behavior analytics. So when I do a tabletop exercise and someone's like, let's go through our IR plan, I will ask them questions like, well, what kind of capabilities do you have for user and entity behavior analytics? And if I get like a glossed over like look of like, I think I know what you're talking about, then we get to talk about what that is. And then sometimes they give me like a very in-depth question of, well, they have this, and it's layered in this way, and it's ingested into the SIM. And I'm like, okay, crap, this is going to be a really hard tabletop. All right. So we have cyber deception. We love cyber deception at Black Hills. We love it and we hate it, right? Because we love it because it makes you more secure. We hate it as pen testers because it makes our jobs a whole lot harder as pen testers. And so the goal is to make our lives harder as pen testers every single pen test that we do, so that way it gets better security for you. But if you implement cyber deception in your environment, fantastic. Kudos. Good job. Isolation. This is one of my favorite cards because we get into policy. We get into a lot of policy. And here's the 3 questions that you ask whenever someone wants to do the isolation card. And so I'm giving you a little, if you've ever played this before, here's some additional tips that you could use. If you've never played this before, here's some things that you can think about when you start to play, is the isolation card. Whenever someone wants to like, well, we want to isolate that system. And I'm like, cool. Let's say they roll the dice and they're successful. So we go over here and they roll, let's say they roll a 14. So 14 is successful, 1 through 10 is unsuccessful, 11 through 20 is successful. And if you're thinking to yourself, why don't you just flip a coin? Because it's 50-50. Well, we also use modifiers. So over here, if you take a look and if you're like, I'm having a hard time following you, that's okay. It's recorded. You can watch this anytime you want. Plus there's like a 60-minute how-to video with like a bunch of people playing it. And then other people play backdoors and breaches on the internet. And so if you're interested, you just do a search for backdoors and breaches and you'll find videos that explain exactly how to play and watch people playing. All right. So we have established procedures. These get a +3 modifier for dice rolls. They get a +3 modifier. So that means if I roll a 14, then it's actually a 17. And so this helps you. Why is it a +3 modifier? Because I don't know about you, but how many people in your organization actually do things, but they never write down the things that they know how to do? I am guilty of this. There's a lot of things I do that I don't write down. Ian has come on board, and Ian is now discovering all the things that I do that I don't write down, and he's trying to write them down to turn them into written procedures. And so in the future, Ian would get a +3 modifier for those things, but I don't. So I'm down here in these other procedures. So in the world of incident response, you probably wrote some things down, but you probably didn't write all the things down. So we consider these the things that you wrote down, which means you get a +3 modifier for those things, and then all these things over here. It's just a straight 50-50 shot. Okay, so I roll a 14 +3. I get a 17 now for isolation. And so here's the 3 questions that I ask whenever someone does something successfully and they have to do something. I will ask the question, who, please tell me their name on your team that will actually do the isolation. And so they go, oh, well, that's Jeff, or that's Mary, or that's the help desk. And I'm like, the help desk collectively, or like a person at the help desk? And they're like, the help desk collectively. I'm like, okay. All right. Second question. Who says yes to doing the isolation? I'm like, oh, okay. So that would be me. Someone's like, that's me, or like, oh, that's Ryan, or that's Jennifer, that they're the ones that say yes to it. I'm like, okay, cool. Now, who will take the political fallout if the isolation hampers the business to do business in a way that's detrimental to the business? I'm like, oh, I think that's Jeff. And you're like, okay, is it Jeff, or do you think it's Jeff? Because that's the thing about what we do, right? There's the person who does it, the person who says yes to doing it, and the person who takes the political fallout if the thing that we do causes a damage to the business or hindrance to the business. So those are the questions I ask. Crisis management. Oh man, you have no idea how many great conversations I've gotten into about crisis management. I'm going to ask this question now to the audience. Can anyone here, and please give me your best answer. Can anyone tell me when an incident becomes a crisis? When does an incident become a crisis? And I've asked this question to hundreds of organizations, and I have gotten, if you wait for it, right? Like as the answers start coming in, what you're going to see is that nobody knows. Nobody knows when an incident becomes a crisis. But the thing is, decide ahead of time when an incident becomes a crisis. Decide ahead of time when that line in the sand gets crossed. Decide ahead of time when that gut feeling is past the gut feeling. I did work with one organization one time. And they said, well, Jason, a crisis for us is anything that reaches level 5 of severity of 7 levels. And I was like, whoa, you have 7 levels of severity and they're all documented? And I was like, does everyone here know what all 7 levels are? And they're like, absolutely. And inside, I'm like, I don't think so. But they had decided ahead of time that level 5 out of 7 was a crisis. And at that point, they would invoke the crisis management plan. And then we got server analysis, SIM log analysis, endpoint protection analysis, like your EDR, your memory analysis, your threat hunting here if you got Zeek or Rita, and now the EC Hunter Community Edition. We have endpoint analysis and firewall log review. All right, so if I gave that scenario to you, right, and go ahead and throw this into the chat, right? If I gave this scenario to you that over the past 3.5 weeks, you saw a higher frequency of failed login attempts of past and current employees over the last 3 weeks, and then surprisingly, it stopped a day ago. You wanted to give it a little bit of time to see, did it really stop or did it not stop? So it stopped about a day ago. What would you do first? If you took a look at all these different options here of things, user and entity behavior analytics, cyber deception, isolation, crisis management, network threat hunting, memory analysis, endpoint security, protection analysis, SIM log analysis, server analysis, endpoint analysis, firewall log review, what would you do first? I'm waiting. So we got network threat hunting. What I like is that some of you are throwing out the fun stuff. That happens during games too. So when you're like making jokes and you're having a good time, like I'm going to send my resume, like everyone laughs because everyone's having a good time. This is not a tabletop exercise where everyone's like, oh, stupid tabletop exercise that we have.
All right, I'm gonna pause it there because we've watched quite a fair bit. Does everyone understand how to play this game after watching that, or do I need to explain a little bit more?
Think a little bit more just because there was a lot coming in at the same time.
All right, cool. So
just a small summary, because I think just you're good at summarizing things. So long story short, basically.
Long story short. All right, let me put this in so you guys can see. So this is the game we're going to be playing today. All right. So basically, the idea with backdoors and breaches is that we work as a team to come up with a scenario, and then I'll get you guys to solve that scenario. Does that make sense? So you have to work as a team and then pick an option. So there are 3 different attacks, and these attacks are obviously based on the CyberQ chain, which is why it said, I don't want to use CyberQ chain because I have to say thank you very much, Lockheed Martin, which you did not want to. But basically, the thing here is that we have 4 different attack chains. So the first one is initial compromise. So this is essentially how the threat actor got in the first place. And then the second one is pivot and escalate, so which is essentially how they were able to move from where they were to then, gain additional privilege escalation or gain domain admin privileges or any of that stuff. And then the third one, which is the brown card. So the red card is initial compromise, and the yellow card is the privilege escalation and pivoting, which is lateral movement. And then the brown card, which is the third card, is the C2, so it's command and control and data exfiltration. And then the last but not the least card is essentially how the threat actor then create persistence, right? So basically, the whole idea with this game is that I would tell you guys a scenario of what happened, because I can see what the scenario is. So in this case, so you can see the scenario. So this is usually hidden. So this stuff will be hidden. So now that you guys have seen that, I'll have to pick another game. But basically, there will be a solution. So that solution will basically have all the answer there. So based on the scenario I gave you, you then be able to tell me, based on that, what do we want to do? We might say, an example is like the example you gave, password spraying. Well, you guys need to work together as a team to come up with Well, if it is password spraying, what do we need to do first? Do we want to go lock down the user account? Or do we want to go block the firewall? Or what are you going to do? What action would you take with regards to password spraying? Now, the thing you can do is you can actually ask me questions. So there are things called exploratory questions. So you can ask me, like an example is, hey, what user was it? You can ask me that question, and then I'll give you a username, and then you can go, is this user an internal employee or a contractor? So you can ask me questions like that. So you can ask me those back and forth questions, but I cannot tell you the answer. So ultimately, what I'm trying to get you guys to do is to pick a procedure. Right. So if you pick a procedure, then I'll roll the dice, and then we see if that procedure is the right procedure to take at the time for the card. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but how does the dice tells you if it's right or wrong?
Right. So
I didn't get that part.
So the dice is basically what allows me to know if I'm going to flip the card or not. So the dice,
okay.
yeah. So you guys will have to pick a number. So someone in your team will have to pick a number and go, all right, we pick the number 5 or whatever it is. Now remember this: whatever number you pick, 3 will be added to it for the high level procedures. So any number from 0 to 10 is a low number, and then 10 to 20 is a high number. So if you roll in low number, I wouldn't be able to essentially flip the dice. If you roll a high number, I'll flip the dice. Andre.
The dice, the card.
Yes. So essentially, yes, the card. So here's the dice. So let's say, for example, Abdallah, pick a number. A number between 1 to 20. So you pick a number. You pick 8. All right. So let's roll. So you picked 8. Well, when the dice rolled, it only gave you 4. So we add 3 to 4. What do we get?
12.
7.
But
3 to 4 is
3
7.
to 4.
Yeah. So
7.
that means we won't be able to flip it. Right. So
that's essentially
that's essentially what we're doing. So you can see.
Sammy, you need to select the 20 sided.
Sorry, I
was about to say.
select the number. Yeah, my bad. So you picked 8.
Yeah,
Which
the orange one, I think.
How many sided dice are you rolling?
Yeah,
4 1. Let me see.
So
that just says how many sides has.
Is that what it says?
Yes. So you should roll the 21. I'm guessing.
Yeah. So by what
if you want to go up to 20.
So let's roll. 10.
Yeah.
Give me a second. Maybe I might need some clarification on that.
You have to do every year for compliance reasons. This is so dumb. We never get anything out of it. But this one does. Like, people have a good time. When you're rolling dice and you roll well, you roll a 14, you're like, oh, you rolled a 14.
Yeah.
And then if you roll, let's say, a 2, you definitely feel that 2. You feel it just right there, just deep inside. And we have dice rolling because it's the closest thing that we can do to mimic the human response to incident response. Because when you roll well, you feel it, right? Just like when you find something during an incident, you're like, oh, I found it. I'm so good at my job. And then when you roll badly, and you're like, oh, I suck. I don't know why these people pay me. I should just quit right now. So that's the closest we can come to the actual human response. Okay, so some of you would like, well, what about network threat hunting, right? So what would happen is everyone would have to get to the same decision, right? We only do one card at a time. And so the person who says network threat hunting would have to say why they want to do network threat hunting. And then someone else might say firewall log review. And someone else might say, I would want to isolate. And then what happens is everyone talks it out. And everyone has to agree on the one thing that they do. And the person who threw out the one thing that gets chosen now rolls the dice. And if it works, you talk about that. If it doesn't work, well, then you talk about that. And so when it doesn't work, you ask this question to the team. All right, so I'm going to ask this question to everybody right now. Ready? Here's the question. And you could probably think of an answer for this. Can anyone here listening right now in the chat give me a reason, either politically, financially, technologically, or a personnel reason, like training or not having the people with the right skills? Can anyone here give me a reason why your organization would not do well with network threat hunting at this time? Not for forever, just like in this moment. Let's say for the next 45 minutes to an hour and 15, you would struggle with doing network threat hunting. Right? So either politically, financially, technologically, or personnel wise. And what happens is during tabletops, I ask that question to the team. and they have to come up with the answer. And when you know your own security, you have a pretty quick response to all four of those. Like you're like, oh well, because of this and because of this, and we don't have taps, and we actually haven't sent anyone to training, and that would probably be good. So this right here starts to reveal what your security actually is, and anything that you can think of, you write down as a potential finding to fix. Now, please, 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 if you ever play this game in the future and you have a bunch of stuff that you wrote down while playing this game of like what politically, financially, technologically, personnel wise, like all these like issues that you come up with, do not try to fix them all. Do not try to fix them all. In fact, only fix one. Only fix one this time. And then next time when you play, fix one more thing. Then next time when you play, fix one more thing. And in fact, if you want to figure out what to do on your list, just roll the dice and do number 17. If you don't have that many things, hey, great job. But if you do, just do number 17 for now. Because what I've learned about humans is that if you have a long list of things to do after playing a game, you never want to play the game ever again. All right, so just one thing. All right, so lastly, I want to show you some of the inject cards. Let me know if you can see the inject cards here. You should be able to say it was a pen test. Let me know if you can see if it was a pen test. I just want to make sure that the pop-ups are also sharing too. Cool, you can see it. All right, so it was a pen test. So if this card comes up, then you could literally say, all right, it was a pen test. So it wasn't an actual attack. All the things that we've been doing up to this point, it was a pen test. And so you start talking through what would it be like if a senior leader or somebody else hired an outside pen test firm to start pen testing us without us knowing it? Like, how would that be politically? And how would that be for you as a team? Like, what are some of the things that would come out of this being the case? Now, over here, we got lead handler has a baby, takes FMLA leave. This is one of our favorite cards in the whole deck. So whenever I start playing with a team, I always write everyone's name down. And so I got Steve and Bonnie and Roger and Erica and John. And I have all these names written down. And then I give out the scenario. The very first person to speak, I put a little check mark by their name. I put a little check mark because that's the person who's a natural leader on the team. And so whoever's the first person to speak, if this card ever comes out, that's the person I silence. And they will remain silent for the rest of the session, no longer to be contacted or to interact with the rest of the team. So that way they can either learn one of two things. One, the team works fine without them, or two, it does not. If it doesn't work fine without them, then they need to fix that. If it does work fine without them, great job. Awesome. Way to go. Building up your team to be able to work without you there. I mean, that's what we all want, right? To have a team that can work without us there. All right, so we got other inject cards over here. SIM analyst returns from Splunk training. You get a +2 modifier for log-related actions. They're not all bad. They're not all bad. Unless you go to the expansion deck. Then they're all bad. Oh, God, they're bad. All right, so we're at the expansion deck right now, and we have more planned in the future. Huntress just made one. It is fantastic, and we'll incorporate it here soon. But the inject cards in the expansion deck, let's see. Honeypot's deployed. This one comes from the original deck. This isn't the first time and won't be the last time. And so if you take a look here, have the incident master draw an additional persistence card. So you find in your environment that like the attackers have hard-coded an actual backdoor. And so you go down here to add on scenario, and then you add an additional persistence cards, but you don't get any more turns to try to solve everything. So now you have 5 cards to try to solve, or 5 cards in 10 turns. All right, so I go down here. SIM goes down. So it's discovered that due to an intern error, your logging server SIM has not been logging properly for the last 2 weeks. All SIM actions are off the table for the rest of the session. So you go down here, find your SIM, and you kill it. You can't use the SIM card anymore. All right, so I show you one more. Food poisoning. Oh, my favorite card in the whole deck. This is also like the COVID card, but we thought COVID at some point would kind of be like, maybe, hopefully, one day, not necessarily as major of a problem as it is. But this one here is each of the defenders must roll a d20, and the person with the lowest number will finish the session by themselves without any assistance from others. And so everyone has to remain silent. Everyone has to like be quiet. And then this one person who rolled the lowest number has to solve the rest of the incident by themselves. And what is it like when you lose your team? And see, the thing about a team is it's the team that makes it work. It's not one of us, it's all of us. And when we all work together, we can actually accomplish what we need to accomplish. And when you play backdoors and breaches, you get a chance to see that. You get a chance to see the team come together, share their knowledge with others, and do it in a non-threatening environment where they can actually talk about the facts of their security and not just the I think or maybe or try or hopefully. It's not the wishy-washy, it's the facts and it's the truth in a non-threatening environment. And that's it for me.
All right, so I figured to finish playing the whole thing because I figured I wasn't doing a good job at explaining it. Does that make sense, guys?
A bit more.
A bit more.
I think we need to play around and
yeah, let's play around. The key thing I want to call out is that the key thing I want to call out is if you guys pick a procedure. So let me explain the procedure a little bit. So all the procedure here, this 1, 2, 3, 4, these procedures attract a 3. So the 3 here is that when you roll a dice, a 3 gets added to it. But if you do not roll your dice and you get the number, so if the number is low number, what actually ends up happening is you can no longer roll that. If you roll a dice on a number, on a procedure, and then you guys use that card, then I will basically put a 3 in there. So that means you can no longer use that card for, across 3 turns until you've rolled the dice 3 times. So that's essentially what that is. So it'll count down from 1, 2, 3. Now, another thing is if you use any of the cards here, any of the procedures down here, all of the other procedures, you no longer get access to using that card. So you have to play.
Oh, so it's one use
One
card,
use.
card
Yes.
only.
So these are one use cards only. Yep. So that's essentially how the game works. So if you can roll this, if you essentially to start here, if you pick this card, it'll essentially be 3. So you can no longer use card across three dice rows. Now after you roll, I change that to 2, and then you roll again. I change that to 1, and then it get completely removed, and then you can use that card again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it has a cooldown period
Yes, it has a
of
cooldown period, so
3.
it has a countdown of 3. So that's when you can only use that card. Now this game is it has a 10 round, so it's a 10 round game. So you can see turns remaining, so you can only play it 10 times, or 10 rounds. But let's go ahead and have a go at it. So this is a dice, so we know
You
that
have
we've
the
got
dices on the page to roll.
Yeah, I think they have a native dice there.
Next to game progress, roll
roll
dice, or roll +3.
yeah. Does it work? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, it looks like it. Try the one without the +3
And
and
it
see if
tells you.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So when you roll it, when we've used all of this, so if you want to use any of this card here, it doesn't have a +3. That's why they have that there. I didn't even know that they had put it in. All right. Let me actually I'm gonna refresh,
Reset it.
reset the game, and then we come right back and play.
okay.
So what do
Is
we
there
have here? All right.
anyone not playing?
Oh no. So everyone here is going to play the game. So it's an easy one. So it's not that hard, unless I'm mistaken.
Unless we roll really, really, really bad.
Well, yeah. I guess that's the point. All right. I think I've got my screenshot, so I've got my solution. I'll go ahead and minimize this. Cool. Are you guys ready to play?
Always ready.
Yep.
All right. I have to make up a story now. All right. So give me a minute to read the attack.
Do we choose or establish procedures, or that's gone? That's random. That's fine.
So I'm going to tell you what the scenario is, right? And then you can decide to say I want to start with
Yeah.
initial compromise, all right? So and then or you want to start with expectation, but it probably usually makes sense to start with initial compromise and then work your way up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So you guys can go. All right. The initial compromise is the email server or whatever it is, right? So. All right, cool.
Once upon a time in Stakeland.
Yeah, it'll probably be semistake.com. Okay. Okay. All right. So basically, we've got a fictitious organization. This fictitious organization is an organization that sells premium steak to high premium restaurants, 5-star restaurants in the San Francisco Bay. So they sell mostly to startups and any technology companies. So the steak collection includes Wagyu steak, rump house, T-bone, and they also provide an online service, which is essentially a website where you can basically go and buy your steak, order it, and then and you can go and cook up some good recipes. They also provide recipes as well. So and this is called semistake.com, or the organization
Yeah.
that's their website. So the organization is Semistake Incorporated. So just early this morning, someone called into the help desk, going, "Hey guys, I've just gone to your website to buy steak this morning, and for some reason I'm seeing some information like I'm seeing some, sexually explicit content on there. I'm like, I'm not quite sure what's going on. Did you guys, are you having some technical problems?" And then from there, the service desk person basically takes the details, take the information, and was able to speak to the person, took their details, took their name, and and they obviously found out that their server has been compromised. So, all right, now you guys have heard this scenario. What do you want to do? Talk amongst yourself. So, where do you want to start investigating? How do you think this threat actor got in? Where do you think this attack exists? Feel free to ask me
So we have
any
to
clarifying question. So, what do you want to
we have
choose?
to choose one of the procedure
Yep.
established in both rows.
So obviously we need to choose. Do you want to do initial? So we're going to do initial access first,
Sorry.
right? So we've got initial access, right? So what do you think is initial access here? Talk amongst yourself. Talk amongst yourself.
Yes, is posting the explicit content on the website.
Yep.
So yeah, getting access to the web servers or something to the back end and uploading all the bad stuff.
User's email or access, user's credentials.
Yeah. All right.
Make sure you
listen
or
to each
something
other
like
because
that.
make sure you listen to each other because you're going to have to make one decision. You're going to have to pick one thing. All right. So feel free to have the banter, but make sure you're listening to each other because I need just one response from you as a team. So, Alex, you said that it'll be most likely the web server because it's on a website displacement. Andre, what do you think? What do you think?
Well, how did they got to the
Sammy,
server?
Yep.
So that's one. I just want to understand. So can we ask questions around the scenario? So, for example, would we know if the server is in-house or it's on the cloud?
Yeah. So you can ask questions, but we don't know where the issue is at the moment, right? So you haven't told me that you guys agree. You guys agree. Do you guys agree that it's a web server that is compromised?
Yeah, I do agree with that line of thought.
But I don't think that's the initial compromise.
Well,
to get to the server, you need to have credentials, right?
Do you guys agree? Not necessarily.
Or use a vulnerability.
Yeah, there you go.
It's
Now
like
you guys are thinking.
injection. No.
Isn't this fun? Keep thinking about it. Right. Abdallah, what do you think?
Yeah, what Andre said got me thinking. For you to get access to the web server, you need to have some credentials, some admin credentials, yeah?
Yeah.
So maybe
Well, the point Alex made is pretty valid, right? You don't necessarily need credentials to be able to compromise a web server. We've just read about how the Barracuda email server was compromised because of a vulnerability. Someone didn't have credentials to get access to it.
true.
Right. Yes. By the way, Pedro, yes, you can ask questions, but clarifying quickly, you can ask me to provide clarifying detail.
Yeah, so that's what I'm asking. Is the web server for the company hosted in-house or that's hosted in the cloud?
Oh, yes, it is hosted in-house. It's an on-premises web environment.
Okay.
So the website, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's go with that and see where we
Let's
go.
just say
Another misconfiguration as well.
Sorry, Stephen, can you say that again?
I said misconfiguration as well, because
All right, so we're trying to solve the incident. I'm still that's a really good idea. I still want you guys to come to a consensus, right? Because you have to be working as a team. That's important, right? So we have different ideas of where the potential initial compromise might be. We also have different ideas of how it might have happened. But I need you guys to agree on one thing. So do you all agree that it's some compromise account that it was used to compromise, and what was compromised? And so I want to know what do you guys think? Where do you guys think the problem exists?
Well, vulnerability was used.
Does everyone agree that the web server was compromised?
So you guys agree that it's a web server. All right, cool.
Yeah, number thing we agree on is I think is that web servers compromised.
Cool. All right, so that's perfect. So now we know that Semi Steakhouse web server has been compromised, and unfortunately, their customers are not able to get the premium steak, and that's concerning, right? Because they're losing money by the minute, right? So,
hello,
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, and also because of the explicit content, there's damage to the sort of to the
Content itself.
repetition.
Yeah, that's
to the
good.
reputation as well. So it's not just it's not just financial
So,
loss, but also
Yeah.
reputational
So
loss as
impact
well.
an impact on the CIA as well.
Yeah, there you go. So there's a lot of
Uh,
issues here.
the part of availability part of it, and maybe confidentiality if there's a leak of data.
Right. Cool. All right. So let's actually investigate this incident, right? So now that we know what the initial access is, so let's find out. Do you guys want to roll a dice?
Yes, go.
So there are potentially four procedures. So there's isolation. So do you want to, now that you've heard about this attack, essentially the next, I guess I'll give you guys more detail. So the service desk has now raised a Jira ticket to the cyber incident team, and now you've picked it up. You guys are the analysts on team, and you've picked it up. Now you're having a chat with the service desk guy, and the service desk guy is able to lock user account, is able to block IP addresses on because he's got access to a network engineer, is able to block IP addresses on the firewall. So based on procedures, what do you guys want to do first? Do you think now that the web server, for instance, yeah, that scenario is made up in my mind. So do you guys think that the procedure we want to go with right now? So now that we know that this web server has been compromised by some threat actor and the website is been defaced, right? That's defacement. So what do we want to do? Do you guys want to isolate the web server? Do you want to look at UEBA system to see if someone somehow compromised the UEBA system? That's why we might be able to see. Sorry, someone somehow compromised the web server, and we are able to use the UEBA system to detect that threat. And then the third pathway is, do we want to look at the firewall logs to see perhaps for some reason the firewall might have logs of where the attack is coming from so we can block it or do something about it? Or do we want to look at the endpoint, which is essentially where the server, where the logs are being stored on the server? So these are the options you have. You also have options such as server analysis. So do you want to analyze the server? Do you want to look at endpoint security protection analysis? Do you want to do SIEM? So do you want to look at the SIEM? Do you want to look at cyber deception? Do you want to look at memory analysis or crisis management and crisis management? So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to roll a dice with a 3, with a plus or minus 3 chance, or do you guys want to roll a 50-50 chance dice?
If not by the server analysis, I would go with the firewall log review.
I'll go with server analysis.
Okay, server analysis.
Yeah, because following the incident response best practice, before reviewing the logs and all that, you have to contain the situation as first.
Okay.
I was thinking about that, Francis. Actually, I was thinking about the isolation, as well. But then I saw the server analysis. So I would think maybe isolation would be better, to isolate and sort of cut off the server so it's not accessible, and at least there's no reputational damage done. That's my thoughts.
Cool. No, that's good. Good conversations. Steven.
Well, I have a question.
If
the isolation, I mean, what's the point if they cannot? Could they? I forgot the word, where they are able to move into the deep systems in the company.
Oh, that's lateral movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the next one here. So that's pivot and escalate. Remember, guys, there is a right or wrong answer in terms of what you pick. And remember, if you pick the wrong one, you wouldn't be able. You basically get bad from it for 3 rows.
I feel like most of them are informational. Like user UEBA tells you maybe who got hacked, and the same firewall tells you where it got through, endpoint, what's the entry point maybe of the attacker, crisis managers, what should we do? And I don't know what cyber deception is exactly. I feel like most of
cyber
them.
deception is we're talking about things like honey token,
Honeypot.
yeah,
Oh,
honeypot,
honeypots and
Ah,
everything.
yeah,
So
yeah,
basically,
yeah,
but it's already been done.
lowering
yes.
the threat actors into an
So it's
isolated
pointless
environment where they
at this
sort of
point.
we control
Okay, I
that
got it.
environment completely.
I got it, Alex.
yeah. So
So
that's
at this
good,
point, it's
Andre.
pointless.
That's a point. That's good. So this is why this is so fun, right? Because you guys are thinking about all the things that would go on when a threat actor actually attacks your environment. All right, cool. So can you guys work together and tell me what do you you
I
cannot overthink it. Remember, the threat actor is still at large in Tami.com. And I want you guys to remember this. The threat actor is still at large at semisteakhouse.com. People are still watching pornography on our website, so it's a no, 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 no. And also, our customers are furious, and every single minute we don't get people their stake. Again, remember this is a multi-million-dollar business, and they're selling to startups. So every single moment we don't have a website live, we're losing a lot of money. So what do you guys want to do?
Isolation.
I'm with isolation.
Why
Yeah.
that the
no, I'm
sentence
not.
that
At this
just
point,
said, I think that the crisis management would be relevant as well.
Mm.
Alex, if I may ask, I think based on the PISL and this incident response, I think identification is part of it. So you need to identify that it's an incident. So I think that's the first point you are meant to look at. Like,
We know
what,
it's an incident by looking at the web page.
Yes, but what I think that Steven's coming from, we need to identify like the root of the problem.
yep.
the
So
problem happens. Yeah, but in the
I'm
meantime, people
going.
are still watching
I do agree
on
with Steven. Yeah.
Yeah.
isolation.
Peop-
You have to make sure that you stop people from watching the porn that on the
yeah.
website.
Yeah.
You have, if there's any backup or if there's any alternative server or something, you can fix that so that people can still order while you go back in house to do
Right.
some incident further incident process. So, but the two things are more important. The business has to go on, and the reputation that is being will not continue to be damaged. You don't leave that going on while you do the technical analysis. So those server analysis can take hours to resolve, right?
Do you
So
guys want do you guys want to ask me a question? Do you want to ask me a
So
question?
what's the answer?
Is there a backup server, basically?
No, unfortunately, there's not. But there is multiple web servers that is basically being served using a load balancer. So this web server
Um,
is actually distributed across multiple servers. So we don't exactly know which one it is that the compromise is on because we have no idea. So there's no one IP address because it's sitting behind a load balancer.
So if we would isolate all of them.
So yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah.
So I'm not telling you guys what to do, but I'm giving you more information.
Yeah.
Because like Francis said, we need time to actually investigate it because with the load balance and everything, you need investigation, but the damage has been done. So we need to sort of cut off that possibility of the damage continuing and then walk into investigation and to try to understand what's happening. And
Feel free to
yeah,
talk to me, guys. I can provide explanatory
How
question.
effective is our crisis
I think
management team? How
I think it should be like the
Well,
UEB,
I'm
UEBA,
sorry, Stephen.
because
I'll answer Pedro's question, and then you can come in so we actually have fun. So your crisis management at Steakhouse at we are not a cybersecurity company. We're a steak delivery and steak cooking company. So our cybersecurity team is basically two guys, and the
okay.
other guy is now on paternity leave. So it's just the one
So
person left.
the crisis management team, is
Yeah.
that
So we
two
don't
guys?
we have no
You
idea
don't
what a
have it.
crisis we don't have any idea what a crisis management team is.
Okay.
So well we do have access to
Good question.
to the service desk guy, and we also have access to the infrastructure network engineer who is able to go and take a look at things. The service desk guy can take a look at things for us. So as I said, the one cybersecurity guy that's available is able to then make a call on what the one he wants them to do. So you guys are essentially serving as the one cybersecurity guy. What do you want to do? What card do you want to play first?
I think it will be the UEBA. Why? My opinion, it won't be isolation because isolation is when you've identified uh, the incident itself. Why firewall and analysis are more of analyzing that's more of like maybe eradication or something like that. But
Yeah.
UEBA, I think with UEBA, it's going to create an alert. Like, okay, maybe somebody was trying to sign in from so place. So that's where the SIM so comes in place. So an alert to be created, and you can then, as a SOC analyst, I think the next step is for you after an alert has been created or something, then you can then start reviewing the logs and analyzing the endpoint itself. That's my opinion. So
So
I
that
feel it should be
that's some good opinion. Do you guys agree that we need to see if any alerts were triggered why the threat actor gained access to the server?
Yeah, but like I
I
said,
agree.
that can all be done afterwards, after everything else. Like basically, like because first we cut off damage, any damage happening, and then we get into. I guess I'm not denying all that steps, but they can be done after we've done after. Sorry, but basically we've cut off all the damage happening, and then we get into log analysis and everything. So
Well,
yeah.
that's a good point, but we have no
You
idea
remember
where the
Sammy,
attack is. Remember, there's a load
Sammy said,
balancer in front
Otherwise,
of it.
porn is still streaming on the
yeah,
website. So yeah, people go on our
yeah,
website to see, hey, they want to buy some premium steak and everything, but instead of that, they're seeing this. It's better for them to see like, oh, the website is down or something like that for some time. Then between two evils, you always choose the lesser evil, and the lesser evil here is to see that the web server, the website is down, than seeing some explicit content and yeah, just having a very bad first experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
But how
It's a
do you
bit tricky one.
pinpoint which
It's a bit of a
server?
tricky one.
All right.
Yeah,
You guys will have
it's a
to
bit
make it.
tricky
You
one.
have to make a decision in 1 minute. The stakes are
Yeah,
high.
so I would say like user UEBA, what Steven said, as quickly as possible to see if there's been any major change or major event that happened through like a SIM or a monitoring device. From there, you can isolate if you know
So,
what exactly is where
Yes.
the issue is coming from.
so you guys want to look at an alert. So what are the all right? Looking at these techniques here, what are the areas where we're likely to get alerts?
The firewall log review.
Firewall. All right. So that would be
Firewall, the SIM there.
yep. And same. All right. What else? Is there anything else you guys see here that we might be able to get some information from?
Not in here. Yeah, okay. SIM is here. A
Yep.
network endpoint security analysis.
Yep.
I'll go with
You
the
have to
same.
make a decision in 30 seconds.
How
Yeah, I
many of
agree with
them? I
Stephen.
mean, the procedure. How many of them, or the three? Can we choose three options?
No, just one.
Oh, let me see.
But we should choose the one that has the most
20 seconds.
information.
So,
Log.
Sammy, do you want just one procedure?
I need one. Pick
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
15 seconds.
Oh, okay.
SIM.
Sorry,
That's the first thing to do, right?
Sammy. Can you just explain it from the beginning because I missed that part? I think that's
Okay,
gonna.
Unfortunately, you're getting hacked.
SIM then.
okay. I will still go
5 seconds.
the isolation. Between isolation and UEBA. But I will say the first thing to
So
do,
one thing to
UEBA.
remember is every single person in your team doesn't have to agree. You need majority to be able to make a decision.
Well, let's
So
write in the
let's
chat.
okay.
Sorry?
So how many is for isolation, basically?
I am for isolation because isolation can be part of monitoring and all that, or for the reason of isolation.
All right.
So,
Two people
so
are for isolation.
it's
next one.
So it's me and Andre are for isolation. What about Francis?
Raise your hand.
I'm for isolation.
There's already
Yeah,
majority saying.
Sorry?
There's 3 of them.
I'm just
There
following
is Andrea, Lex, and Abdallah for
Yeah.
isolation already.
All right, cool. You guys picked isolation. Let's see.
Ooh,
And let's flip the card.
raw.
Your network team is on their
No,
game.
no.
They can easily isolate infected system to prevent further team switch and router commands. Unfortunately, you guys have failed. So, well, I forgot to actually roll dice, but
Yeah.
you guys have essentially you failed at this one. But I'll give it to you anyway because I forgot to roll the dice. So that's not the right selection.
But how do you know it's right or wrong?
Because I have the solution.
what's the right one.
It's the DM.
Oh, okay, you have the solution.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it will be UEBA because firewall and the endpoint analysis, they are both the same. So it will be the UEBA.
So just remember, you can no longer use isolation until the next 3 turns.
Also, you're not gonna tell us. I thought that's it. We're dead.
No, you're not dead. You just keep going. Remember, there's an incident going on.
Yeah, let's try SIM this time then, guys.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll go with SIM. Yep.
Put your hand up if you want to do SIM.
That's 3 already.
Same.
All right, we've got a majority now. You guys pick a team member who is going to roll the dice.
I'll roll the
Allah.
dice.
Well, Pedro
let's roll
said
the dice,
SIM.
bro.
Yeah, Pedro is first.
Yeah, I
Alright.
can roll on.
Pick a number, mate.
10.
10. All right, let's roll. Oh, nice. Well, you definitely, yeah, you did well. So that's good. All right, so let's see. Let's put this here. So yeah, good luck with this one. Are you logging the right things? Do you regularly emulate threat scenarios to see if you can detect threat? So yes, this is correct. So now, when the threat actor compromised your web server, you received an alert on the SIM that says, "Hey, there was a potential password spraying. So a lot of password attempts were being tried on your web server, web login page, and that is essentially how the threat actor was able to compromise your environment. So, is this making sense, guys? Now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First, you analyze the log and do
Yeah.
like an investigation, and you're doing either it's a false positive, is a true positive, or whatever. Yeah, just to understand first that if it's not just some, just some misconfiguration or something like that.
Yeah. So the threat actor was able to use
Looks legit.
SQL injection to dump your database and was then able to steal password and username. That's how they were able to get access to your web server. Now let's move on. So you can no longer use that. So let's look at pivoting and escalation. So now the threat actor has gotten access to your environment. Remember how I told you guys that there's a load balancer in front of the web server. There are 3 web servers altogether that are serving data to the outside world, right? So looking at that now, and now that we identify that, hey, this threat actor is likely doing other things in the environment. It's probably not just the website defacement. Before a threat actor will deface our website, they probably go and do other things. So let's now think about what are the potential things that threat actors would do to pivot or move laterally within an environment and get access. So do you guys have any ideas of what the threat actor could do?
So I have a question. I don't know if you can answer that or not, but do we know the information if the whole load balance in all 3 servers are infected, or just one server or something like
Right.
that?
So basically, when we looked at the SIM alert, we were able to see the IP address of the one web server that's responsible for the one that was compromised. So we have that information. So let's say it's web server C. So we have that information. So the threat actor is now gained access to the platform. Now that we've
I
identified the
think
web server,
what we can try to do, guys, as well, is just someone journaling what is happening. So just so we can keep track of what's happening
that's a good
within.
idea. Taking notice is good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pedro.
I think that now that we know what IP address is being affected,
Yeah.
maybe we could look at the firewall logs.
Cool. So why do you want to look at the firewall logs?
Because then we could see what kind of connection was attempted to that server, and if that's recent or if that's something that has happened ages ago.
Yeah. All right. Let me help you guys a little bit. So let's assume we have the IP address now, and we've been able to shut down the web server. It's no longer public, right? So now we're trying to figure out what the threat actor has done in the environment. Is the web server the only place that they've looked? So to find out that information, what do we do?
Endpoint analysis.
That's one thing. Why do you think endpoint analysis?
To check if there's any unusual traffic through, to see if it's went in other parts of our network.
Right. So endpoint analysis actually means that you're looking at the server itself. So,
After that, yeah, okay.
yeah. So
What's the difference between endpoint analysis and server analysis?
yeah. So they're basically the same thing. So like the endpoint
At
is
this
actually
point,
In our
It's because
scenario, right?
endpoint would be a workstation, a server
Yeah.
analysis would be a server.
Yeah. So it's basically a server. So that's the different thing. So an endpoint is basically like a normal user computer, and the server is a server. But it's basically the same. Like they're both computers. If that
Procedure,
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
But in our
How
scenario,
about
they're the same, but in another scenario, you could have there would be different things, right?
Yes. An example is if there's a, let's say this is a phishing attack, right? And the user received the phishing, that would not be on the server. That would be on the endpoint.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think that what else? So again, we're trying to find out now that we've been able to shut this the web server down. Well, I hope we're not making the assumption that that's all the threat actor did.
Nah.
No,
Right.
we need to find out if these threat actors somewhere else as well. If they did lateral
Yes.
movement in our network.
That's it. So
Yes.
maybe they did privilege escalation. What if
can
this
you,
web server is created? What if this threat actor has already
They
created
could
multiple
achieve that
accounts?
by, I don't know, remote desktoping from the
Yeah.
server to another thing, which would be catched by the firewall as well.
Well,
Firewall logs, sorry.
that's good.
I think that
Firewall logs.
I'll go with you as well, firewall, because with the firewall, you can be able to check communication to other endpoint devices. Maybe it's communicating with other endpoint devices as well.
Yep.
Mm.
Does anyone have anything else?
Is crisis management pointless?
I
At this
think that
point?
by what Sammy said, they
Yeah.
are not very effective. It's just one guy because the other one's on leave. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you scroll down? What's the last card?
Nothing.
server analysis.
Yeah. Well, seven. So yeah,
Oh.
seven analysis. Yeah.
Oh, network threat hunting. Maybe that one.
That's a good idea, but remember this: we're not. All right, let me help you guys. So when we saw that alert, remember what I told you guys that we saw in the scene? What did we see?
IP address.
No. What was the alert that told us or alerted us that the threat actor has taken
SQL
Password spray.
injection.
password spraying? So don't forget that.
Password spray, yeah.
All right. So we
We
know
need to
that.
find out which accounts were
Compromised.
compromised and accessed recently as well.
Aha. So that's good. So let me help you guys a little bit because there are some things that you might not necessarily know. Is that one of the things with cyber deception is that you can actually create something called honey tokens. So these are basically usernames or user accounts that you've basically created randomly in an organization that no one uses it, and you intentionally make the password, like make the account um, look like it has admin privileges, but it's actually a service account, and you put the password really strong so that someone no one compromises it. The whole point of why you're doing that is you're trying to see whoever tries to log on using that account, you know that they're not part of your team. They're probably from a malicious place because your team knows not to use that account. It's a canary token. So that's one
What do
thing
you
you could look at.
what do you call that, Sammy? Only what?
It's called a honey token or canary token.
Okay.
So and that would be under cyber deception, by the way. So
Yeah, which is
another
not
thing,
the
yeah.
thing we're not going to do.
Obviously, we're not able to use SIM because we've already used SIM for our previous exercise for initial compromise. So
Shouldn't isolation go down to 2?
Yeah, that's a good point.
well, we haven't actually. You guys haven't picked anything.
But yeah. Um,
1, 2, no? Okay.
I think that
So is it Uber? The user
UEBA?
and sensitive behavior
Right. Do you
analysis?
guys
Yeah.
know what UEBA does?
Analyzes its behavior and checks for anomalies
Based on what?
based on previous logs.
the historic of the user.
On the account user the user's location, time zones, whatever. So if there were like suspicious logons outside of work hours, on weekends, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So based on established baseline, right? Something that's known
Yeah.
previously. Right. That's good. I'm
Yep.
obviously helping you guys a little bit more because this is the first time you're playing this game. So, what do you think? What do you guys pick? So now we know that the attack is probably, using the threat actor will probably try to pivot and get privilege escalation using password spraying, and we have seen some alerts on the SIM. Where else? And now we know we can no longer use the SIM. What else would you guys look at? And we know that there are other ways that we can detect this as well, right? I've practically given you the answer. So
I think that would be the Uber for you. I think for pivot, after when it gets to the pivot stage, you look for unusual behavior. You understand?
yep.
I think it will be the Uber because when someone gets admin privilege, you need to start looking for stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So UEBA. What was the other option so we can vote? Because you guys are not moving fast enough.
I think
You
the
muted,
Oh, muted.
one
Sorry, cyber deception, I think.
Cyber
These
deception.
two, Yuba and cyber deception.
All right. Let's vote. So those in favor of cyber deception, put your hand up.
I
Those in
can't
favor.
put my hand up now because I'm driving, but I'm going
Yeah,
for
please
Uber
put your hand down.
because of the explanation.
Yeah. So those in favor of UEBA, put your hand up.
I those in
Okay.
favor say I.
All
I
right.
say I.
So the ayes have it. So UEBA wins in this case. All right. Let's look at UEBA. All right. Where is it? I can't see properly.
Second one, the top.
Right. So there
Next
we
to
go.
isolation.
So this will be go here, and this
Roll,
will come here. So what do
roll
you
the
guys want to
dice.
roll? Yeah, I'm gonna roll. Yeah. So remember, this is a 3. So whatever number you pick, 3 will be added to it. So pick a number.
What?
11.
So in case you pick, like, if you're feeling excited and you pick a number, if you pick a number like 5, and then I roll, and then the number is actually like 3, then we add 3 to that number. Does that make sense?
If it's really bad.
Yeah. Well, so if we let me roll. Sorry, did anyone pick a number at all?
I think that Alex picked 11.
11, right. So the point is, if I roll the dice and we don't get 11, all right, whatever number I get, we add 3 to it because we're playing the high level procedures.
The established procedures, yeah.
Yeah. Ah, look at that. What are the chances, mate?
Good guess, Alex.
What are the chances?
How?
All right.
How?
By the way, so you guys you've gotten 3 points. So whenever you guess the number right, it means you have 3 points. So well done, mate. Okay, so let's look at
Is
the
it
scenario.
correct?
Yeah, it's correct. So
Is it
you
correct?
guys picked user and entity based behavior analytics. Yes, that is correct. So because you're correct, that's a good thing. And let me tell you guys the scenario. So when the threat actor started doing password spraying, we started seeing light bulbs come up. Users that were not necessarily known to to fail their user log on password, started lighting up, and there was a lot of like thousands of logon failures from multiple usernames, but across the whole environment. And eventually there was one successful authentication on the domain controller that was observed, and this was obviously picked up by the UEBS system. So yeah, that was well done, guys. That was pretty clever. Now let me give you, let's talk about backdoors and breaches, which is C2 and exfil. So data exfiltration. So this threat actor, after they defaced the website, they also gained access to a domain controller, and then they were then able to take a dump of the password hashes using a file called Mimikatz, and they stole a file called mtds.dit, which is essentially where all of the Kerberos password and information gets stored. So now they've got access to the domain controller, and now they want to actually put, like, essentially exfiltrate data out of the network to their command and control system. Does anyone, by the way, just this is an example for you guys to learn. Does anyone know any command and control servers or systems?
Cleaver, that's a big one. Cleaver just came to my mind now, but there's other ones I just forgot about them.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, one of them is something called Cobalt Strike.
Oh, Cobalt Strike. Oh,
yeah, and then another one is called
the most notorious one. Yeah.
No, that's all right, mate. Another one is called Empire. So you can use Empire.
Oh,
So
Empire. Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of them. So now that you guys have heard this scenario, so what would you pick? Where are you likely to see attempt of data exfiltration? Talk amongst yourself.
That'll be firewall.
Firewall.
When you check the firewall, when you say like lot of data, I think when during network traffic, when you see like a lot of data, maybe going through some protocol, like some protocol for transfer of data. When you see a lot of this thing going through it, I think with the firewall you could use like you could be able to use tools like Wireshark to be able to capture traffic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it to be the firewall, in my own opinion.
Yeah, I'll contribute less. Now you guys are getting the hang of the game. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, by exclusion, I think that's the only one.
Yeah, I think is anyone
traffic analysis? Is there anything like analyzing like a traffic up there?
Well,
Similar to what Steve
well,
described, whenever there's a filtration of data, that
right.
could be
So that's a good point. So, is there anything here that tells you guys that you might be able to find potential risk of data analysis and exfiltration? Where I kind of want to hear you guys talk about this, so you actually begin to, because this is essentially how you get a lot of experience on how to solve problems in cybersecurity, because you know where the domain where the issue might exist. So if someone is trying to exfiltrate data from an environment as a SOC analyst, where would you go and look?
Well, if we had DLP systems, you could
Servers.
use the DLP system.
Yeah, that's a really good one, right? Data loss prevention systems. That's good.
Yeah, but we don't have that option there, do we?
No, we don't have DLP.
I would
yeah. DLP also
send
work
it.
at endpoint level as well.
Wouldn't
It could work at
so?
endpoint.
Yeah, Pedro, sorry, you go. Yeah, that's well, that can be debated, Francis. So let's not go into it.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking
Alright.
that you would be able to see like the password spread within the firelog review as well. Because you look at the pickup, you can see like what method's being used and what password they're trying to input.
Within the firewall?
Yeah, at least if you get the pickup and took it to Wireshark.
Yeah. So the key thing to note is that this firewall is an edge firewall. So an edge firewall essentially means it's the firewall that is there before. That's a good point, you raised. It's the firewall that is there before you go to the internet.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So now we already know that the threat actor is in. We know that they've gained access to the domain controller. We know that they have pretty much demigod privileges across the environment. So that they're no longer doing password spraying anymore. So now they're trying to, I've explained to you guys that the threat actor exfiltrated, not exfiltrated, they stole data from the domain controller, which is all username, password, hash, ntdt dot date. I think that's how it's called. NTLDT or something. NTDT. So that's
Yeah, I mean, like,
that's what the file is called. The file that the threat actor is stealing, and they're trying to exfiltrate that file out of the network so they can go and crack it and get access to more user credentials, right? So they can pivot more. So now that we know that the threat actor is trying to exfiltrate data, where are we going to look to find evidence of that?
Network threat hunting.
yeah, I
Show
think that's
the network traffic that goes in and out, and then you can just see what specifically is going out, and you can see where it's going to.
And what I would say, I think since the last option is persistent, for persistent could be more of we also need to go back with you understand. At least if you look at persistent, there is the only option. We could see that persistence, if you want to analyze for persistence, could be more of endpoint analysis or something like that. So for the C2F, it has to do with something that has to, investigate like network traffic. And the only logical something I'm saying there is the firewall, while the network threat hunting, I feel is more of like a threat analysis or something like that. So then I'll stick with the firewall for this option.
yeah. I agree with Stephen. Stephen, sorry. Especially because, like you said, we need to walk backwards and we need to take into account the other procedures that are limited. So giving a shot for the firewall doesn't seem that bad.
Alex, what do you say?
Francis,
It's quite silent.
I'm still thinking because I'm lost between a little bit like in a debate between network threat hunting and firewall log review. But to be honest, the only thing that's stopping me with the network threat hunting is threat hunting, because we need sort of like traffic analysis more than threat hunting per se. If it was network traffic analysis, that would be yes, but I don't know. It's just this. It's not really what we need right now. Because the card says there that does your organization capture and review network traffic and everything, but yeah, that's more like, I think,
again, you guys are making a lot of
classical
assumptions
threat hunting.
without asking me questions.
I don't know. Am I right? I went to look for network threat hunting, meaning from what I'm saying, it's actively searching through a computer network to proactively identify and investigate potential cyber threat that may not have been detected by a traditional security measure.
Yep, that's what network threat hunting is about.
Yeah, and I feel like you mentioned that they're trying to exfiltrate more passwords, right, Sammy? So that will go through the edge firewall. Sorry.
Yeah, so that will go through the edge firewall. But again, Alex picked up a good point, which is if there's DLP in the environment, it'll probably trigger, when someone is trying to exfiltrate a large amount of data.
Yeah. We don't have like a dedicated DLP by what you said as well.
No, we unfortunately we cannot afford. Well, even though we're a multi-billion-dollar business,
do the
AV
that we use?
We just didn't implement it at the moment. Maybe the Steakhouse will implement the website, the business will implement it, was planning to do it, but it was like
Yeah.
in 1 month's time or something. Yeah.
Our focus has been mostly about growing the business because again the demand from customers have been pouring in, and we haven't really focused too much on implementing a lot of things, but we did implement something. Which, do you guys want to ask me what that is?
What was that?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you specifically, just before we all started this, I had that, but I forgot about it. So I
Yeah,
wanted to
you got
ask
to ask
you,
me. You got to ask me clarifying questions.
what tools for web traffic analysis do we have specifically in the
Yeah,
organization?
we're more than happy to answer that. So we use a device called Palo Alto Next Gen Firewall, which is essentially a stateful firewall that looks at literally the whole packet up onto the application layer. So it's able to detect any threats in the environment up onto the application layer. So it's not just looking at IP addresses; it's looking at the actual file that is being transferred. And we also have deployed, Zig, which is essentially an NPS IPS system that we can use to pick up, malicious activity in the network. And we also have Suricata, so we can actually visualize those threats and create alerts out of them. So
So
yeah,
you're
that's
giving us the
essentially
answer.
what we have.
So that
You're
would
giving
be
us the answer.
network.
Answer for me.
So Samuel has given us
But
the answer. So
the
it's
answer is in your explanation. So network
so
threat
that would
hunting
be
is what I'm going
network
for.
threat hunting. Based on the definition as well, actively searching through a computer network to practice. I think it will be network threat hunting since the firewall is more of a state.
The
So
firewall is just log review that I'm seeing there
yeah.
passively, or not really.
Yeah. So I would think is we should go with the network threat hunting.
It's fun watching you guys do this. Uh,
Yeah.
Big one.
Network threat hunting for me.
All right, those in favor, put your hand up.
I
Still, I'm not a little bit not confirmed. Like,
That's all right,
I
man.
haven't decided.
You've been outvoted. Like, and this is why the reason this is so important is that this is essentially what you see in an actual incident. Not everyone agrees with every single decision that is made, but the point is we have to make decision and we have to do something. We cannot be, we can
Yeah,
get into decision paralysis where no one,
and and sit there and debate for
yeah,
100 years. Yeah.
yeah. So we have to move forward. All right. So nice. So we take this, and so we've chosen. All right, that's actually pretty cool. So you guys chose one that it's not a three one. So you basically cancel that card altogether. All right. Let's see if you what you got. That is correct. So we were able to detect evidence of someone trying to exfiltrate large amount of data using our network threat detection platform, which is a combination of Zig, Rita, and Suricata. And that obviously alerted us to the threat actor trying to exfiltrate the data. And we were able to also identify what the threat actor IP address, the C2 IP address is. And we noticed that the threat actor was using Cobalt Strike for data exfiltration, and we were then able to document that information. And yeah, so I was going to say this. What do you guys think we should do with that IP address that we now have? It's like chilling.
Isolate. But yeah.
Block it
Block it. All right, cool.
or
Obviously, I know.
chase it.
Yeah, I know that I did not roll dice, by the way. So I'm just trying to see if we can finish a lot quicker at 11 p.m. Um, and then, all right, cool. So now we've obviously blocked that firewall. So we've communicated to the network engineer through via the service desk personality or personnel, and we've gone ahead and blocked that IP address on the firewall level. But we did notice something though. We noticed that aside from when we looked at the BroSeq logs, pardon me, aside from the data exfiltration logs that we saw, we also saw a lot of network establishment going back and forth that don't necessarily have any information
Well,
with regards to large amount of data. It's just almost like a scheduled persistent ping. So every now and again we would get notification. We would see a packet like a connection and then reply, and then every now and again we will see another connection and reply. So obviously we're currently at persistence. So based on that, we are looking to see what exactly is going on. Why are we getting this traffic that is coming from this same IP address? Sorry, this same IP network. So not the same IP address that was using for cover that we used for Cover Strike or that we saw with Cover Strike. This is another public IP address as well, but they're on the same subnet. Do you guys understand what I mean by that? So they're
I
within
don't.
the same IP group. Abdallah, you go.
I just wanted you to say again what you said. I kind of missed some parts of it.
So what I'm
Yeah,
saying
no,
is,
same here.
what I'm saying is, now we saw what the IP address is. You guys agree that we need to go and block that IP address for couple strikes, right, to prevent the potential data exfiltration. But whilst we were reviewing the logs on the firewall to block that data exfiltration and the SEEK platform, we also noticed that there is this almost like a scheduled task or something of that nature that the threat actor is using to ping, and it's happening around the same time, every single 30 minutes. So you see it ping every single 30 minutes, and then there will be a
Beginning, yeah.
response. And then aside from that, when I say ping, I'm not necessarily referring to ICMP. I'm referring to like in a network connection, right? So we will see a network connection on a weird dynamic IP port number and a public IP address that's part of the same IP address block as the previous one that we saw. Now, for persistence, now that we've seen that activity, what do you guys think we should go and do? What do you guys think this is an evidence of? By the way,
So
the
there's
traffic is going to the web server. Sorry, not the web server, the domain controller. So this communication is between the domain controller and some external IP address. Remember, the domain controller is where the threat actor was able to gain access to the hash values after the privilege escalated to the domain controller.
Yeah.
we
So
need to.
what do you think we should have a look at?
You said that the firewall catches the whole packet, right?
Wait. 3 and 2. Sorry?
You mentioned that the next gen firewall from Palo Alto will catch the whole packet.
Yeah, it did. It does. But all we've got though is again, remember it's not trying to exfiltrate any data.
Yeah.
How we have is just the network traffic. That's
The
just a
beginning
connection,
happening, yeah.
yeah.
Maybe
Between
more.
the domain controller and the external IP address.
Yeah.
Yeah. Memory analysis to see when that scheduled task was done.
Yeah, I was thinking similar.
That's a good idea, but can you tell me a little bit more about what you understand as memory analysis?
Yeah, that's the issue. Like,
That's more digital forensics, no?
Yeah.
It's more forensic RAM.
No, it's a digital forensics.
Usually for volatile data, but yeah.
So if I may ask, did we get? Sorry, I went to grab some water to drink. Did we get the last option? That's the third one.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Oh,
We're talking about the last one now, the third one, so we can actually close because it's already 11.
Yeah.
That's why I'm basically moving up pretty quickly.
the screen is we can't see your screen, Sammy.
I'm sharing my screens too.
We can
Yeah, we
actually,
can see
Sammy, can you go down to the server analysis because I think that it says something about baseline.
Yeah, sure.
The ability to baseline a system, verify that it is operating in a normal state. By the way, this is more than simply running Task Manager and looking for every backdoor X.
The main server. So that I think that's a crucial thing. What Sammy said is that is that we know that the connection, the beginning, is happening from the domain controller to the external IP address. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that if this server analysis is doing from a baseline perspective, we're going to see whatever changes were done. So if they have scheduled a task there to be doing that thing,
yeah,
on a consistent base, we would be able to spot that change from what considered the normal state.
So you guys are thinking the server analysis?
I think server analysis. Pedro's. I like Pedro's line of thought. Yeah.
Does anyone have any other thoughts? All right. It seems like it's server analysis that you guys are going for. Perfect. What happened to all my thingy? Did I move them? Or are you guys trying to hack
Because
me?
of the zoom. Because zooming,
Right.
Sammy. Because you zoomed in, and that's why it all sort of was displaced.
Pieces moved away. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that we finished those, so we blocked this one. So we'll open up sim again because that we didn't use that the last time. So let's have a look. All right. Again, I'm ignoring the rolling the dice because we don't have a lot of time. So based on what you guys have seen, we can see on the web. By the way, you're correct. So it says in that either endpoint analysis or server analysis. Based on the information you've shared, based on the information I've shared and what you guys have seen, yes. So we did see that the IP address is communicating to the domain controller, and we had a look at the domain controller. We can see that when we looked at the event log, we can see that there is a an application log that is connecting to an external IP address, which is what we saw using PowerShell, and the parent process name. Do you guys know the difference between process name and parent process name?
No.
Not really.
Right. So basically, a parent process name is essentially the program that was used to execute another program. And then the process name is the program that is being executed. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the parent process name for this is PowerShell.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yes. So the parent process name for the thing we saw in the event logs is PowerShell, and the process name is something called callback.exe. And we basically saw this in the Windows scheduler. So what do you guys think is going on there?
Malware.
Remember we're solving for persistence.
Mm.
PowerShell.
Sure.
Yeah, and then
Like
PowerShell, and then the process name is callback, callback.exe.
PowerShell, you said?
Yeah, parent process name
By the way,
equals.
do we get our isolation back or not? I'm just curious.
No, you don't, because this is again. That's where after you play this game, after you finish this one, yes, you get your isolation back, and then this one becomes one. And then the process name is
Yeah, it's just for a matter of like logging whatever we're doing. So there's no need to
all right.
do that right now. You can just send it that later. Let's just wrap it up. Okay, nice.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think is going on here based on that information I provided to you?
PowerShell is a parent process. Process is callback.exe.
It keeps calling back his server to maintain persistence.
Yep. So what is it doing?
C2 connection. No.
Penetration testing too. On the current penetration testing.
Wait, I said callback, call name. It's supposed to be callback.
That's so good.
Callback is a penetration testing tool. So we could work with that. Penetration testing.
So, what are the potential avenues that a threat actor has to implement persistence in a client environment or a target organization?
PowerShell.
So that's just a two, right?
Yeah, to gain
Privilege
access.
escalation.
Yeah. So what does the threat actor? What can a threat actor do? Let me explain to you guys what persistence is.
Command execution through
So
PowerShell.
so
Yeah,
persistence is essentially a threat actor leaving something behind that will enable them to still have access to the system even after all evidence has been cleaned off.
Yeah.
So
It's like
where
an alternative link, right?
yes,
So,
so where in Windows or Linux, again, this is mostly a Windows environment, at Steakhouse, SammySteakhouse.com, where in Windows environment can the threat actor perform persistence? What can they use to do persistence? Which is essentially
Memory.
leaving something behind that will get them back access.
if it's in Linux, I think that would be the Chrome tab.
Yep. So what about Windows?
Windows, I'm not sure about Windows, but Linux, I mean, it's Chrome tab.
Does anyone
And
can anyone help Steven out?
uh,
Chrome tab.
Could you use a scheduled task?
That's a good idea.
yeah,
Yep.
it's like task scheduler. You
Yep.
would be able to see whatever is predetermined for
I
like
think
the
Sammy, you mentioned about the scheduled task or something. Yeah.
Yep. So
Huh?
what else in Windows could you potentially use to maintain persistence on a host?
Something in the startup folder, something that happens every time
Yep, that's a
the
good idea.
system.
So startup, the startup program, right? So
Registry. The registry.
yep, that's good. That's good. Well done. So you can modify the startup
Yeah,
registry path, and then whenever the system is restarted, the program will run again. So there,
Is
that's a
this
good
when we
place.
choose memory analysis?
No, no,
yeah.
no. So in this case, I'm kind of we're kind of done with the game. I'm kind of helping you guys think about this a little bit more, right? Like
yeah.
we have multiple more turns, but we don't have a lot of time. We have 8 more turns, right? So basically, yes, that's one way. So we can look at
I
schedule
think
tasks. Sorry.
that's a little bit wrong. That's a little bit wrong, Sammy, because we didn't roll the dice like 3-4 times,
Oh,
so it
that's
should be
true.
like
Yeah. Well.
half the way through. So
Yeah. Well. Yeah. We did have
anyway,
a good amount of turn. Yeah. So sorry, scheduled task. The Windows registry is in another pretty good place. Does anyone have any other idea of where potentially another persistence could be? And it's a very
In
cheeky one.
RAM.
It's not very
like
advanced. It's very cheeky.
I just googled screensavers.
Well, you just deposit a screensaver in the environment and oh jeez, that's very stealth. That is very stealth. But something more, elaborate, something more, it's very sneaky. It's just there in your face, but it's very hard to detect. All right, I'll help out because it's very late and I'm getting you guys to
Yeah,
think hard at 11 p.m. You could potentially create a fake account.
okay, yeah, fair enough.
All right.
It's like an admin 01 with
Yeah.
the admin 1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or you can even create service account. Do not delete
yeah,
as a name. And essentially, when the incident response team are looking for something malicious, they wouldn't, they'll be like, this doesn't look like it's bad, and then they basically leave it there, and then the threat actor can basically just remove desktop or into the server again whenever they want, even after all the things have been cleaned.
yeah.
But yeah, look, thank you so much, guys, for participating today. Obviously, next time we play this game, we're going to be a little bit better at it, and we actually follow a lot of the rules that we skipped today. But keen to get your feedback. What do you guys think? Did it get you guys to start thinking about incident response? And actually, feedback is really important in this line. So I'm going to shut up and let you guys provide your feedback.
I really like it. I feel like we have a lot to learn
Yeah,
and
it was
not
great.
much to lose.
It's like
No
I don't have
stake
my
to
money in
lose.
there.
That's
My
fine.
money is not at
Yeah.
stake.
Yeah, I think that was great. That's good.
It's nice.
The
Well,
stakes are just low.
well, don't worry.
Stakes are saved. Yay!
Well, you guys barely saved the steakhouse. Basically, we're busy arguing when threat actors were stealing our steak. I'm like,
And
just
Sam's
move
going to be
on.
in a good mood because his favorite restaurant will have the steak supplied to
Yes,
them, and he'll have his steak coming in for his very
yes.
important business lunch.
Our business is back online. So thank you so much, guys, for your help and for making this possible. Without you, the business would be doing really bad at the moment. So thank you for your effort. Much appreciated.
You're welcome, Sammy. Just make the payments to our account.
Oh, jeez.
Now we expect a pay rise and a bonus.
So are we gonna have a game like this next week as well,
If you guys want to play
or
another one next week, we
some
could.
time?
It'll be interesting.
If you like,
This will,
and the cool thing is,
there we
it's not
go.
the same scenario. So next time we play, it'll be different scenario. So like, have a look now, guys. So web server compromise, initial password spray.
On the web, it's free, right? Like you said last time.
Yeah, so it's free. And then application shimming. So this is essentially where they're doing protection and whatnot. So I changed this on a little bit. I because I made the attack on the domain controller. We can no longer use endpoint analysis, but server analysis, which is why I told you guys server analysis is right.
Yeah. Oh, I could have used the firewall log there as well. That's good.
Which one?
The domain fronting.
Yeah, you guys could have looked at the web server. But I kind of made that one a little bit harder for you guys because I told you that because I didn't want to make it easy. I did tell you that there was a load balancer in front of it, so it wasn't easy to actually detect what server it is. So you needed to have picked SIM first, in which case you guys did. So you did a good job at picking SIM, so you can actually see where the alert is coming from, and then from there detect it. So yeah, you guys actually did a pretty good. You did better than I thought for the first time you're playing the game and for not having actually been in a real cyber incident. So well done to you one for sticking around. Hopefully this has stirred up some some curiosity. That this is really what this game does. And you're like, oh no way, that I just can
So
do that. Yeah,
in
okay.
what scenario would isolation be used as a first technique?
Well, probably mostly never.
Okay.
Because the whole point with isolation is that you now understand what is going on. And again, going back to the incident response life cycle, right? We have identification. So you cannot
Finding identification. Yeah.
yeah, right. So identification, eradication. Am I even saying it right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, eradication, containment, recovery, and lesson learned. All right.
So it would be the third step, basically, like
Yeah.
containment.
So
Yeah.
containment is that's essentially where you're going. Well, now we know. And the reason this is important is some threat actors, their goal in your environment is to come delete file or do something nefarious. An example is a ransomware. So if a threat actor is just coming to your environment and their goal is to ransomware your organization, if you go and start deleting things, you basically tip them off and they immediately detonate the file, the ransomware. So the whole aim initially with identification is that you want to know where the threat actor came in from, so that when you then isolate, you know where you're going to isolate that will have the most impact. I don't know. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. A question from that is because, like you said, there's porn stream from the website. Is cutting off the website from external usage so no one can access the website? Can you consider that isolation or not
Yeah,
really?
it is isolation, right? It is isolation, but remember we didn't go to that first, even though you guys recommended it. Yes, even though from a political point of view and not necessarily technological, from a political point of view and from a business point of view, it made sense for that to be the first thing for us to do. But at the time, we don't even know what threat actor is attacking us. We have no idea why they're taking us. So even though it sounds easy to go and just disable the website, and obviously I intentionally made it harder. That was why I didn't want you guys to go and do the fire, block the web server first, because I wanted you to think about it a little bit more, so that you actually find out who exactly is trying to attack you before you go and block things, and then cause more problems for yourself than usual. And threat actors are usually they're very quick. So the first thing you want to do is try to figure out what on earth is going on.
Yeah. I feel like I led you guys on the wrong path.
No. It was a good idea. There's no such thing as leading people on the back path. Like literally, this game, it's a really good opportunity for you to actually, pick your brain and think about how you would deal with something if you're actually in a job and you're the one doing incident response, right? Because it's basically like it's a fight or flight situation. If you
Yeah.
get hit as an analyst or as an engineer, if you get hit with an incident, some people don't know what to do. They basically just become a deer in a headlight. They're like, I don't know who to call. Right. So by doing this exercise, you will actually then begin to think, right, if you play this game a few times, you actually begin, the whole incident response process is going to be embedded into your brain. And then if you're ever into an incident, if you're ever involved in an incident, you're going to, I know, I've seen this before. Do this, do this, do this,
Mhm.
do this. I know I need to call this person. I know I need to call that person. Like, obviously the version I gave you guys today is a very, very low version. Like usually what would happen is there would be designation. So you would designate who the incident handler is, who the executive
Mhm.
representation is. So someone from the senior management, is the person who will be communicating with media. So we can actually expand this further to say, all right, now that we know what is going on, how are we going to communicate this to our customers? Because there's a lot of things that we skipped through because we're very technically focused. There is obviously the technological side of things, which is what we dealt with mostly today. There's a political side of things, and there is obviously the safety side of things. Like what about the safety of your customers, and your what is it, your staff. So in a lot of cases, like if we're dealing with something that that's an example would be, if it is a generator, like or you guys know the generator that is used to treat the water in southeast
It's like
waters.
a scanner. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it is a SCADA system like an IoT device, where we need to start talking about safety, is this going to cause a massive, poisoning of the nation?
It's a good point. Never thought about that.
And due to that, you basically find yourself, thinking about how do we communicate this, or do we need to contact the federal police or the government or whatnot? So it can get really, really big. So, but because we focus very to the technical side of things, which is why I was going to tell you guys that some people think that tabletop exercise is very fluffy and very GRC. No, like you guys have seen, it's making you think about things you've never really done before, and you have to know different tools and you have to know different technologies and how to use them and what use they have to be able to actually perform this.
Okay.
No, it's pretty good. All right, look, for those who will be watching this later, thank you so much for coming on board. Obviously, we're going to jump into mentor hang and Q&A. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. But for the time being, um, thank you for joining. For those who are watching this online, thank you for watching. Um, this is a very long video. It will not be a mandatory watch, so if anyone wants to watch it, go ahead and watch it. If you want to just watch one that is well done in less than an hour, you can go and watch the one from the Black Hills Information Security YouTube channel. Obviously, this one is a little bit more involved because we had to learn how to play the game to even be able to play in the first place, and had to watch, if 25 minutes of the video of them explaining to us how to actually play the game. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you later. And hopefully you can come to the live session as well. Cheers.